You walk into your local liquor store and you're looking at the whiskey shelf and you're just overwhelmed. These days there's hundreds of whiskeys and bourbons out there, and it's hard to know what is good value, what's good whiskey, and what you should actually be looking for and picking up at the store. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 most underrated and underappreciated bottles on the market. Let's get right into it. How is everyone doing today? My name's Chris. Welcome back to Bourbinsane. I've been asked this question a lot on social media. What are those bottles that you just keep coming back to? What are those bottles you buy again and again? And I was going to do just a bourbon video today, but as I was looking at my collection and my shelf, I decided, we should probably branch out into some rye as well, because I got a lot of ryes out there that I do love too. So I'm going to be including just whiskeys in general, either bourbons or ryes. But these are my top 5 most underrated and most underappreciated whiskeys on the market, I think. And specifically for me, these are whiskeys that I do find myself coming back to, whether it be because of the flavor, the value, or things I just want to drink all the time. I come up here at the end of the night and I'm looking for something to pour, and I just keep coming back to these bottles. So I figured this would be a fun video today. I want to hear from you guys though. What are your top 5 most underrated whiskeys? Doesn't have to be bourbons, can be if you want to be, but top 5 most underrated whiskeys. I want to hear what you guys keep coming back to when you're at the store. What's your daily sipper you pick up all the time if you find them? It was difficult for me to limit this to just 5 today. I decided to do it. Didn't want this video to be like 40 minutes because I could have probably about 20 bourbons and whiskeys that I do with this. I have like a list of about 20 is where I'll be reaching for every day if I could. Before we jump into our top 5 today, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification so you know when I put out a new video. Let's go right into number 5. Coming in at number 5 today is actually a craft whiskey company that I've really been growing to love over recent time, and this is actually a new release from them. Blue Note. And this is actually the Blue Note Honey Cask. Now, I actually really love this, and shockingly, I didn't think this would show up locally to me, but it has. I may like the bourbon, the Bourbon Honey Cask even more than this, but it's a 1 to 2, like 1-1, very close on these. The only reason I didn't include the bourbon is just because they only put out about 2,000 bottles of that, so very limited. I think this was over 10,000 or around that, and this actually showed up locally to me, as mentioned, so shocked by that. But what this is the Blue Note Rye, and then they actually finish it in a barrel-aged honey, or a former barrel that held honey. And I will tell you, the sweetness that comes through on this is so good. It drinks much older than a 3-year-old whiskey. I think this is about 3-4-year-old whiskey. And it definitely drinks older than that. I think that honey just absolutely rounds off those rough edges, makes it drink well above its age. And the beauty of this is they actually up this in proof to something extremely respectable. Almost 117 proof. Craft companies that will do this, they'll try to just capitalize on money, so they may water this down to 90 proof. And I was very pleasantly surprised that Blue Note didn't do that. They did what the consumer wanted, and this isn't their first release of this, but as a consumer, I want something that's pushing barrel proof, or at least going to give me a lot of flavor punch, and upping this in proof made all the difference for the flavor. If you're a rye fan and a fan of bourbon like sweetness, this has got the best blend of both, and I always find myself coming back to this. With some of the recent videos I've been putting out, I've been told I'm a big Buffalo Trace hater, so we got to put a stop to that, because that's not true. Look behind me. I got a whole bunch of Buffalo Trace products. Coming in at number 4 is a Buffalo Trace product, and it's the Benchmark. This specifically is the Benchmark Full Proof, but I could kind of make an argument for almost any of their expressions in their new line. I actually really enjoy the top floor, even though it's lower proof. The single barrels I've tried have been good, respectable for the price, and the Full Proof, I implore anybody to find another 125 proof bourbon that's $20 to $25. That gives you the Buffalo Trace sweetness, the flavor profile of what a classic bourbon should taste like, and the proof we love. Us whiskey drinkers that have been in it now for a while, we want that proof. We need that proof. And I've probably had 5-6 bottles of this now, just since it showed up in Michigan, a year ago or whatever it's been now, not even that long. Boy, that sounds bad. 5 bottles in a year, or so. But I love this. I do love this for the price. Is it Stag Junior? No, it's not. And I actually did a video where I put those side by side to see how close it actually was. When I first tried it, I was like, man, this is close to Stag Junior. Not close, and then I did them blind, and it was no question. Stag Junior is better. But we're talking a $70 bourbon now at this point, retail nearly for that, and unavailable everywhere. I can't find it anywhere. So if you're looking for an alternative, still in that Buffalo Trace flavor profile, that cherry sweetness, almost brown sugar all in this bottle, Benchmark is something you should definitely look for. Coming in at number 3 today is actually a rye whiskey company that has not only a bunch of underrated bottles, but I think they're underappreciated as a distillery, and that's Sagamore. I've done a couple reviews of Sagamore now. Recently, this is the 7-year cask strength I did earlier this year. Had their 10-year rye just maybe 2 weeks ago, and I love that thing, man. That's going to be pushing my top rye of the year. And Sagamore in general is just doing things right. That Maryland rye flavor profile is always like a chocolate, dark, deep fruit, and I just love it. Chocolate covered raisin. It works for me, works for my flavor profile, my palate. And the cool thing about Sagamore is they actually source for other companies. So a lot of other craft companies that are putting out rye expressions, if you check that bottle, it might say distilled in Maryland, which is most likely Sagamore. So they do work with other craft companies, which is really nice, because they themselves are still a craft company. Obviously at this point they're much larger scale. They're putting out serious juice and serious amounts of juice at this point. But it is cool that they still do that. They're willing to share their recipes and sell some of their barrels as well. And I love that. I do love that. It's kind of an ode to other craft companies when companies do that to me. But in general, I haven't had a bad Sagamore expression. They have numerous expressions. The cask strength, as mentioned, 10-year, 9-year last year, and finishes, double oak finishes. They've had wine finishes, so I just haven't tried a bad one. Let me know if you guys had any of the Sagamore expressions, and if so, which is your favorite. The thing I love about this is being a rye whiskey, I'll use it in cocktails all the time too, and that Maryland rye, that chocolatiness, adds just another layer of deliciousness to it. So I'm a big fan of Sagamore. Surely he wouldn't include 2 Buffalo Trace products in an underrated list. I'm going to. This is Buffalo Trace, just Buffalo Trace, but it's the single barrels. Now, 2-3 years ago, these were popping up constantly around me, and they still have a lottery program to see who gets what picks out of Buffalo Trace, so not super common. They are still showing up, but I have only seen maybe 2 or 3 Buffalo Trace picks this year, whereas I've seen 4, 5, 6 some other years. I think Buffalo Trace at still around that $30 to $35 price point is a very, very good value. I mean, these are still, they say, 8 to 9 years. And if you can get the specs on the single barrels, that's even better if you talk to the whiskey manufacturers or the distributors, whoever it is you're dealing with, the store you go to, they can sometimes tell you the specs of the barrel that they picked. So these are very, very good. They don't have as big of a flavor differentiation as some other picks, like the Russell's Reserve picks can be extremely different in flavor. I think Buffalo Trace in general is very consistent, but I have had a couple Buffalo Traces that drink way more rye heavy. I'll say that. I don't know if it's where they're picking from the warehouse. Obviously mash bill's the same, but 2 or 3 picks over the years I've had, out of probably multiple dozens of picks I've had, they were very rye forward, like a lot more rye bite, rye spice. It's still proof down, it's not super high proof, but it still can take you on a little journey, is what I'm saying about these Buffalo Trace picks. I enjoy doing single barrel comparisons to the Shelfie, and it's not a huge difference typically, but every once in a while you will find those one-off Buffalo Trace picks that do give you flavor differentiation, and I still think at the $30 price point, you can't really find a better bourbon on the market. Before we jump into our number 1 most underrated, underappreciated bottle out there, do me a favor and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what is your number 1 most underrated bottle on the market. Coming in at number 1, this is actually a brand or a label that I think is highly underrated. Old Grandad, and I got 2 of them just right here handy near me. But this is the 114 and the Bonded. All the Old Granddads are really, really good for the price point. All these would make my budget list. I mean, my budget under $30 price list, because all of them have a good flavor profile. Old Grandad is a label underneath Jim Beam. And they are a very rye-heavy flavor profile. So higher rye mash bill, still around probably the 4 year. I mean, this is the bonded, so that's going to be at least 4 years. The 114 is likely the same stuff, just upped in proof to the 114. But if you guys have watched some of my other videos, I talk about these all the time, and these are always my go-to cocktail whiskeys. The 114 specifically, I enjoy not only a higher rye mash bill or rye whiskey in my cocktails typically, but the 114 proof gives me actually a flavor that comes through, like a whiskey flavor in my cocktails, which is what I want. When I'm drinking a cocktail, I just don't want to taste sugar. Like I would just drink a sugar drink if I want to do that instead. So I enjoy actually getting the flavor profile of the whiskey in my cocktails. That's why I always reach for these. And honestly, over the years, I've put these in a lot of blinds with other budget bottles. The Evan Williams Bottled and Bond, and just, Jack Daniels Bonded. And these usually come out on top or near on top. So I have really nothing bad to say about these. They're still everywhere in every market. There's been a rumor the 114 is going away. Haven't seen any confirmation on that, so I doubt that's the case so far. But I keep coming back to these all the time. These are the ones I come back to. I always have them on the shelf. And honestly, for the flavor profile and the price you're getting, is there a better $30 bottle on the market? Thank you all so much for joining me today for the video. Do me a favor again. Let me know down in the comments. What are your most underrated bottles, labels, distilleries? I want to hear it all. And as mentioned, these are just my 5. I could mention 5, 6, 7 more. So I do want to hear from you though. If you haven't yet, please do check out my Patreon page, bourbonsane.com. You get early access videos like this. You can get behind the scenes looks into what's coming next on the channel. There's merch over there, so just check it out. You can even join for free if you want to. I appreciate each and every one of you being here today. Thank you so much for all the support. Stay insane.